Hello guys, and welcome to another video. Today, I'll be going over one of the biggest cases I've ever put my hands on. It's basically a continuation from what had happened after the XSI takedown drama. So a quick recap was that the game, XS Terminated, was taken down due to gore and violence. But, it was already stated in the notes that it was for ages 12 and above, meaning this had to be a case of someone wanting to take the game down. And this makes me a whole lot mad about it. Imagine you make a game with lots of attention and someone reports it. However, this situation is far from over. As per what X50 had told me, the person who took it down had been stalking him everywhere on social media, causing him to rant on it in his YouTube posts. Now let's go into this post, which has 17 comments. Oh boy. This is a real one. Okay, so it looks like we have this person called Yurdudiaxes. Since their username is hard to repetitively pronounce, we'll just call them Yaxi. So it seems like they were pointing out X50's supposed wrongdoings. However, X50 is the one turning the tables here. He further points out that she was stalking him. Then, we see them sort of replaying what X50 had supposedly said, but I have no evidence to support it. However, there's one thing I can confirm, X50 did add gore to his game. However, he has literally stated in the game it was for older audiences, which really doesn't make sense here on why Yaxi is complaining about it. Furthermore, in my previous video, I stated that this was likely a case of someone doing it with evil intent. Now it just seems like Yaxi is being an absolute rage baiter here. However, this conversation doesn't end there. Here, we can see that she didn't want to be friends with X50 after what he supposedly said. Again, I have no real evidence to support this claim, so let's move on. Then, Yaxi starts talking about this guy called Dos Knots, and then Yaxi further points out that Dos Knots is deaf. Now, this really shocks me as I have no clue as to what had happened with X50 and Dos Knots. But what I can deduce from this is that X50 was urgently fighting with Dos Knots. Then, X50 admits that he was in the wrong for this situation. However, he then starts to state what I've said in my previous video. After that, Yaxi just repeats their statement of asking her if X50 wanted to add gore into XSI, and eventually reiterates what they had said earlier. I think what Yaxi was trying to say here was that she had deserved to unfriend X50 just because he wanted to add gore to XSI. But again, I have no real evidence of this. Then, the conversation ends with X50 pointing out that Yaxi should stop believing the she and move on with everything else. Okay, so from what I've saw, I can clearly conclude some things. Firstly, Yaxi is a person who is believing her, or the person that took down XSI. Later on, Yaxi brings up the Dos Knots case, where X50 admitted that it was his wrongdoings. But, X50 just denies everything and wants to keep things straight. However, Yaxi still just wants to keep on reiterating how she had deserved to unfriend X50 after his alleged actions. Then, X50 just asks Yaxi to leave her alone, ending the conversation. Now this is a bit confusing, but it's safe to say that Yaxi was just falling under her spell. However, I still have lots more evidence to show you all, so let's get into it. This was when she decided to delete her Scratch account. As we can see, she simply had wanted to respect X50's decision to block her. This probably means that she just either went for a comeback, or just wanted to keep being on Scratch without being detected. The next piece of evidence is from a Discord conversation. As per X50's request, I have made this person anonymous. Now let's dive into this. Here we can see them complaining on how she would rant about how X50 would suck in Dandy's world despite her recommending him how to be better at it. This is basically the sequel to whatever X50 was discussing with them. I'll give you a few seconds to read. Now, if we go up, we can see more about what this person was complaining about. Here we can see that she was pointing out that X50's dad was right about him raging too much over Dandy's world. While I don't want to be mean, that is a very normal thing as even I rage sometimes. Finally, this is when they start comparing themselves to her. Again, I'll give you a few seconds to read. Now, let's move on to the next piece of evidence. This is when we can see that she was showing extreme obsession for a Vocaloid, Kaito. It is probably pretty clear that even I know she is Kaito's Kamioshi. At this point, then, this is when her obsession starts to be clearly stated. I'll give you a few seconds to read. This piece of evidence is just too confusing for me to even explain, so I'll give you a few seconds to read it. Here we can see this person complaining about how she keeps reposting their media. This is where they post a picture of her about me, and this is where it gets really concerning as she is seen exhibiting interesting behaviors to a character in a Roblox game, Forsaken. Here, this person is complaining about how she is living in the same country as them. This shows that they are extremely uncomfortable around them. From this image, I can tell that she was reposting this TikTok, elaborating more on why they are uncomfortable around her. This is also another sign of why people are uncomfortable around her. This piece of evidence is the most painful one to go over. In this image, we can see X50 complaining. Here, we can see her intimidating X50 on how he should find a girlfriend. She had also asked him to get a life, which is very offensive. This was probably the original post. In this photo, we see this person who has been ranting about how they have been shipped with X50. This was obviously her doing, making this person uncomfortable. This is the final piece of evidence. We can see that this person is going to watch K-pop Demon Hunters, a Netflix exclusive. However, it slowly turns into this. This hints towards the currently ongoing drama. This person didn't want Yaxi to believe her. With all the evidence shown, it's safe to say that this person had far other devious and malicious plans in mind to cause trouble for X50 and his friends. But, I do want to make this clear, this is no laughing matter. Shipping two people together, forcing someone to believe them, causing someone to feel uncomfortable around them, and even misleading people, these are all acts of the person itself. And this is all because of one person who had started the fire, the very same person who took down XSI. Now, let's be real. She was clearly causing multiple people to feel irritated or uncomfortable. But is it even worth it? Is it even worth it to intimidate others who at least do the bare minimum for you? Is it even worth disturbing others who are already mad at you? Is it even worth trying to express extreme obsession when all you get in return is hate and nothing more? So I want you to get the message, guys. This person not only harassed the innocent people mentioned here, but did awful actions that set a negative reputation of herself. However, in life, things work that way. We can't stop someone who's doing all these weird and horrible actions. If they want to do it, let them be. Eventually, they will realize their consequences. However, as the saying goes, what goes around comes around. Eventually, she would have to pay for the actions she had done. So, the moral is, if you want to do things, do it with respect and reason. If you do it without respect or reason, you might end up angering people. But if you think that's all, think again, because we still have one more evidence from X50 himself. Now, I want to disclose something. This short clip from X50 himself will expose her name. As mentioned before, please do not harass them or bully them. Regardless of what they have done, we should be more mindful in our speech. Now, without further ado, let's get started. X50, over to you. Yeah, that's not good at all. Now clearly X50 has elaborated more clearly on the pieces of evidence I showed you earlier. But let me just add on. If you don't want people to disrespect you, simply do not disrespect them. It's as simple as that. And this brings me to the end of my video. Now before I end this video, I wanted to go through the disclaimers again. This video contains mature topics that do not suit children. If you are under the age of 13, it's best to step back. Additionally, please respect each other's opinions and actions. Anything they do is not guilty unless proven in court. This video is solely for education purposes. It is not used to bully, harass or intimidate any of the victims mentioned here. If you want to recommend a game or be in one of my videos, be sure to subscribe to me at @morezion2025 Games. Make sure to also add me on Discord with the user Zion2023. As always, thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Hello guys, and welcome to another video. Now, as you may know by the title, it's quite obvious why I'm making this video. This video is just about further exposing Saturn and their wrongdoings ever since the XSI drama. Now if you don't know what happened, I suggest you watch the video I made before this, or the other video on another one of my accounts. Also, just a quick reminder, please do not mass report either X50s or my exposure video. I've reiterated the same thing in my previous video. It is just a video about exposure and nothing more. Now, without further ado, let's get started with our evidence today. Here we see X50 showing a picture of a comic made by Saturn after the separation. It is clear that Saturn was just trying to do this just to express the ongoing situation. Now, let's examine this comic to truly see what Saturn was doing. Firstly, we can see that Saturn had drawn themselves glitching. From what I can see, they were glitching most likely due to the drama between X50 and Saturn. Then, someone calls out their name, which probably used to be Venus, but I have no hard evidence to prove this. On the second panel, we can see another character who is asking what had happened with Saturn. They point out that they had been quiet for a long time and asked if they were okay. Then we zoom into this little thought bubble here and it reads, "Oh, she suddenly cares." Now this really confuses me. What is their backstory with Saturn and the other person? Why did they not care about Saturn then? Now, this is a very confusing evidence, but if it gets explained in the future, I'll make another video about it. In this next piece of evidence, Saturn wrote something that probably explains their own situation during the drama. I'll give you a minute to read this. Now, this short piece of writing is just already a reiteration of what had happened during the drama, so I won't go further into it. In this next piece of evidence, They post a photo of someone holding a job application paper. Now I'm pretty sure this really doesn't need to be explained anymore. But job applications are a sign of someone telling you to get a life or go do something better or probably get off the internet. And here, Saturn clearly wants to express that to X50. This is yet again another photo, but it doesn't explain too much, so let's look at the title. It's mostly just curses, but something catches my eye here. I'm really not sure why Saturn decided to include stalking in their rant, but it's pretty clear that X50 isn't the one stalking. It's actually them. So that's the weird part of this post. They were probably doing it just to defend themselves. Next, we have 3 individual posts from Saturn. Let's look at the first one. It seems like they were ranting about how both of them were unbothered by X50's words. I don't have enough solid evidence for their conversation, so let's move on. Here, we can see them complaining on how X50 keeps posting about the drama. However, I see no wrong in X50's actions and I can tell that Saturn is just trying to insult X50. It's pretty clear enough that Saturn is just trying to defend themselves by roasting, posting insulting photos and other stuff. Not only that, they are also trying to make themselves feel better by making a comic and a short story about the drama. However, there's a really serious thing I want to address. Remember the drama between me and Saturn? They threw these insults at me. Not only that, they had also mail spammed me hurtful words. And now compare that to this. So get the point here, it's gotten to a point so serious that they can throw insults at you, ship you with other people to even mail spamming if they feel threatened. And this kind of behavior can anger people and cause major fights to happen. But, as I said previously, if they will do it, so be it. They will pay their consequences later on. Now with all that out of the way, let's hear what X50 has to say himself. X50, over to you. And that brings me to the end of my video. But before that, I'll go through the disclaimers again. Please respect each other's opinions and actions. Anything they do is not guilty unless proven in court. This video is solely for education purposes. It is not used to bully, harass or intimidate any of the victims mentioned here. If there are any updates on the drama itself, I will kindly make another video on it so that you are kept in the loop. That's all from me. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.